everybody. I'm David Ziser, and I'm happy to be here with you today. Hey, today we have my good friend Jeff Medford joining me in a conversation about this brand new social media platform that he's been working on over these last couple years. Jeff and I have been friends many, many years. In fact, he coordinated workshops and seminars for Clay Blackmore and myself around the world, which included Italy and Barcelona and Budapest. We had a great time doing it, and Jeff is a very innovative guy, and he continues to keep himself excited about brand new, exciting projects. And this is his latest project that I want to talk with you about today. It's entitled Gides, and that's Gides. It's a brand new, exciting social media way of sharing any of the information that you have with anybody in the world, and for anybody in the world to share their information with you. That information could be in the term of a blog, or in terms of a blog. It could be in terms of videos. It could be in terms of website. It can include all the regular social media kinds of things that people share with, but it's all in one place. I'll tell you what, Jeff knows all about it. I'm going to let him give you the deep dive into all the features and all the benefits of the brand new Gides social media platform. Why don't you join me now as we join Jeff too? Hi everybody, this is David Ziser, and today I'm here with my good friend Jeff Medford. I've known Jeff for about 10 years, way back when he was actually managing Monty Zucker's classes and things around the country. We also shared some seminars throughout Europe too over the years. He's put on a large number of seminars and workshops throughout the country and lecture tours. But today he's here to talk to you about something completely different. Jeff is now the CEO and founder of Gides, which is a very, very innovative way of really sharing your information and things with the world. So Jeff, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can go into a little bit more detail for everybody.
Hey, David, thanks. So back in the day when we were doing the master classes in Europe and Budapest and Italy and Barcelona, I would spend all this time putting together these PDF documents to email to everybody about, the class locations, the itinerary, meals, et cetera, et cetera. And doing that and doing all the tours really got me thinking there's got to be an easier way to share things with people than just creating things in PDFs and sending them around in email. And I started to think about a way to really increase everybody's ability in the world to kind of share things that they know, share information with people. Social media is great for sharing a status update or, a little broadcast about how you feel about the latest political situation, but it's really hard to share knowledge. It's really hard to give people a sense of what you know. Now, you can do that on YouTube if you make a video, but that's kind of like the creative live model usually, where it's a long time for just a little bit of information. So kind of by accident one day when I was in Europe and I was doing some vacationing, and every place I went had these audio guides that you could rent. I came up with the idea of replacing those, and in the process realized, why don't, instead of just replacing audio guides, why don't we make it possible for everybody in the world to kind of create their own guides about whatever they want to, a guide to their life, their family, their vacation, a guide on how to do something that they know how to do. Maybe it's a fix-it task, maybe it's a great bread recipe, maybe it's a craft or an art or anything you can think of, because a guide leads or teaches or helps people or shares information. That's why people turn to guides. And I really believe that, all of us should be guides for others, and we should all be looking to others to guide us, because when we share knowledge with others and when we learn from others' knowledge, that's how we make the world a better place. So no surprise, I created a brand new platform called Gides. Now, when I went to get the domain name, clearly Guides was taken, and that really got me thinking, there isn't really another word that ends in IDES or has that "ide" sound that has the U in it, right? Hides, snides, all of those words don't have the U. So I just went ahead and bought Gides, Gides. I'm going to share my screen here and show everybody. So Gides is a brand new social media platform for sharing knowledge. Now, what do I mean by social media? So, social media is kind of characterized by two different things. The first, or three different things. The first is that it allows you to post something. You put up a post, right? So you have your Facebook status update, which is a post, your Twitter post, your YouTube post, which is a video, your Instagram post, which is, usually a photo, maybe a video. Guides also, just like all social media, allows you to post, but your post format for guides is a guide. And what do I mean by that? Well, a guide is just really an infinitely flexible post that has any kind of content that you can think of: photo, video, audio, maps, text, you name it. If you can think of it, you can create it. So this is a guide that I made to kind of like explain what Guides is. And as you can see, it's a scrolling list of content of any media, any format, any order, and I can make it as long or as short as I want to. It can have just one thing in it, like one video or one image, or in this case, if you look down here, this has 110. This would be the 111th. This has 110 individual pieces of content that go into making it. Now, really, if you think about it, what a guide is it's an article, or it's a blog post, or it's a web page, right? So the web page, all those are the same thing in technical terms. What they are the ability to display content to your heart's imagination, right? There's no restrictions. So Facebook's post format has its restrictions, and Twitter has its, and Instagram has its, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All of them have restrictions in terms of what media goes in, what the format is, what the order it is, or how long it is, or what type of information is being shown. Guides has none of those restrictions, because it's literally, what can you think of? What do you want to share? And you do that. Now, that may sound intimidating or slightly like, well, I'm not used to doing that. It's been so long since the days where people kind of had their own blogs, right? Because social media came over and took that out of the way. Back in the day, we would be like, oh, what do I want to write a blog post about? Now, I know David's used to doing that all the time because he regularly maintains his blog. And many of us who have businesses do that. But the rest of us have been we've been kind of trained to not think or share in more detail anymore because of social media. So I want to make sure everybody, understands that Guides is no different than using, let's say, chat. Now, the world's most popular chat app is called WhatsApp. Americans don't tend to use it much, but the rest of the world does. It has 1.6 billion users. But WhatsApp's the same thing as Messenger, or it's the same thing as iChat, or it's the same thing as your text messaging app in your phone. And what is it that chat allows you to do? Well, it allows you to have a conversation with somebody and to build that conversation by using any media, any order that you want that to. So here's a chat with my friend Merv, and as you can see here, there's a lot of text, there's a lot of images, there's some video in here. Here's a chat with my daughter Trinity, who this is actually from a class that we did in Krakow when she was taking a picture of me. This is any media, any format, any order. There's videos, there's text, there's images. I can add maps. But the problem with using chat isn't that you can't create what you want. It's that, number one, you have to have a conversation with somebody to create what you want. And number two, you have to leave it there. You can't share this with the world. You can't take whatever it is that you've created and then make it available to the public. It's locked in here forever. It's useless. So it's super easy to create using that, that chat bar. It's super easy to choose what you want to, but it's locked up and useless beyond the conversation. So I took that principle and I created Guides based off of the idea that, well, if we can do it in conversations with other people, we should be able to build our own public posts in the same way. So if you look down here at the bottom, we have a chat bar. We have the camera. We have a plus. The plus allows us to choose different media types. And just in the same way that you would have a conversation with somebody on whatever your chat app of choice is, with Gides, you can build that same type of multimedia, variable content in whatever order that you want to, but you can then post that as its own autonomous post in the platform. So when I say, what do you mean you can post that? Well, if you look at the homepage of Gides, it kind of looks like YouTube in a way, right? Every single one of these posts made by dozens and dozens of different people is simply a post or a guide about whatever it is that they wanted to make a guide about. And it is like YouTube in the sense that when you upload a video to YouTube, it's its own individual thing. You can go back in time and look at it. You can search for it. People can access it forever and ever. Unlike, let's say, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, which you put it on a timeline and then push everything else down. And they're not really meant to be searched for or surfaced again, right? It's like, all right, let's post this and then let's forget about it in a couple of days when I post the next thing. That's not the way Gides is. It's arranged more like YouTube. In a very rough way, you can say that Gides is like a YouTube of blog posts. But I say a very rough way because blogs kind of have an outdated and an old feeling to them. And these aren't blog posts in any way that you can think of traditionally, except for the fact that they allow you to create and share anything that you want to. So,
Hey, Jeff,
yeah.
let me ask you quickly. Can you share these privately between just family and friends, or is it all public?
So, like all startups, our product has a roadmap, right? So eventually, within 6 months or so after launch, you'll be able to share them only with one person or with a group of people that you choose, or with the entire world, or anything in between.
Okay.
At first launch, they're all public. Now, we do have some pretty cool features in here that allow you to segment off content if there's just some people who you want to see it. Let me give you an example of that. When I told you that using Gides allowed you to choose any content, any media, any format, any order, anything that you can think of, really. Here's a good example of that. So this is a guide about idioms that one of our users wrote. And as you can see right here, it requires a password. And so if I know that password, now let me see if I can remember it. If I know that password, yeah, there we go. If I know that password, now I can go ahead and I can open the guide and I can look at everything. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So we were like, well, that sounds really complicated. Well, the great thing about Gides is that it's not complicated at all. So let me open this up. And this is going to be, this is an example that I used on, how to build a guide. And I did this on my son's account. So I'm going to go ahead at the very beginning here, and I'm going to show you that every single one of these content choices, just like you would build it in a chat app, has a number next to it, right? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see all those, right? So that allows you to keep track of where something is and move it and change it and put it somewhere else or add something in between. So for example, I want to add a password at the beginning of this guide, right? So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say add below. This right here means the next content choice I make, or a slide, think of it kind of like as a slideshow, is going to end up going right below here. And we know that because here on the input bar, it tells you you're about to create slide number 2 now. Right? When we were in normal mode, it was going to create slide number 62, which is, of course, all the way at the end. There's 61. But I want to add a password under this thing at the very beginning. So I'm going to say, I want a slide here. I'm going to hit the plus and I'm going to choose authorize. So some of these are not quite yet pretty. In other words, we have about 3 more months of work to do before the platform launches. This is one of those where everything works, but it's not yet pretty. So I'm going to say, let's put a text password on, and that password is going to be David with a capital D, and done. Now, there's a password that's just been put in as slide number 2. If I then go to somebody else's account, here, this was my account, right? And I say, well, let's look at that. I actually have to publish this first because right now it is in draft. So publish it, put it in my public channel, and finish it. All right. So I'm going to refresh this. There we go, Temple of Heaven. So when I open that up, bam, it says, hey, you need a password. So if I type in the wrong password, David without a capital D, then I can't look at it. If I type in the correct password, David with a capital D, bam. Now I just got access to the whole thing. And really, you know, this ability to kind of think of anything that you would really want to do if you had a personal web programmer sitting on your shoulder all day long and you're like, hey, make this for me. I want a website, or I want a web page that does this, right? What Gides does is it gives you the ability to do that with just a few simple clicks, without complex programming, without having to have your own website. And it really opens up opportunity for everyone in the entire world to have the power of a web programmer in their pocket on their phone. Now, you know, obviously we're doing this Zoom call in a way that we're using a computer screen to do all this, right? But Gides is really an app, and I can show you, I can kind of approximate what it's like to use the app by going into a developer mode that says, all right, well, let's pretend we're on a Google Pixel 2 XL phone, for example. So this is exactly what it would be like to use the app on the phone. So the idea that eventually you'll be able to segment content out for any individual person, that's already kind of built into the platform. We just need to finish those features, which we will do after we do public launch. But in the meantime, there are ways to do that with the password feature. There's also another really cool way of you know, adding in the ability to segment off your content in a way that like restricts it to specific people. If I come here to my shopping list guide, which you can see right here, you know, it's just stuff that I need to buy. And if I say, well, at the very beginning here, I'm going to add a slide below and I'm going to do authorization again. But this time, my authorization, I want to be based off of GPS. So now I'm going to say, well, if I live up near David, you're basically in Kentucky, right?
Yeah, Cincinnati.
Cincinnati area, somewhere around there, right? I'm going to say, well, if I'm within, you know, 50 miles of where David is, then let the person in. Okay, so there we go. There's my shopping list. Let's go back over to Tristan here and do a search for my shopping list. There we go. So it says, hey, I have to submit my current GPS location. Access denied, because I'm sitting here in South Carolina and David's in Kentucky, right? So sucks for me. I'm not getting in. Well, if I just go back and edit that slide and say, well, no, let's put it within 50 miles of where I am, for example. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be 50 miles. It could be 5 miles. It could be 100 feet. But just to keep things, you know, kind of precise, we'll keep it, you know, let's do 10 miles. Within 10 miles of Summerville, South Carolina. This is where I am right now, okay? So now I'm going to go back here and I'm going to say, all right, well, let me submit. bam, because I'm within 10 miles of that. So just with a few clicks, you can geofence off, your post so that only people who are around you. And these kinds of like really cool and interesting features go on and on and on and on. But at its most basic level, Gides is really great for sharing content, right? So images, video, audio, links to hyperlinks to articles, galleries of images, slideshows, maps, locations where you happen to be. So right here is where I live, and we're just going to put a map right here in the guide. Bam, there you go. Now, for an image, I can pick something from my computer. I can take it directly from the phone, like if I was using my app, right? I could take it just like I would in chat, or I can upload something. In this case, I'll go ahead and I'll say, let's upload this picture of people on a roller coaster, and there you go. Now that's part of my guide. It's slide number 35 of my shopping list. Now, obviously this has nothing to do with shopping, so I don't want this anymore. It's really easy to just get rid of it. Let's hit delete, okay, and it's gone. This map, let's say I want it at the beginning. I'm gonna hit move, and then I'm just gonna say, all right, well, I want this to be right here, up at the top. And now it's been moved so that it's at the top. And when you're making these things, you get three kind of viewing modes that allow you to kind of look at what you're making and then edit it. The eyeball right here is simply view mode. This is what your viewer is going to see right here. It's nice and clean and everything looks nice. Right here, this is what's called simple edit, and it just next to every single one of your content choices, you have the ability to then open up a menu of things that you can do. Edit the slide, add below, delete, move, attach, copy it, transfer it to another guide, add above. You can enter a select mode where you can then do a number of things at once. Like if I wanted to delete 10 things at once, I could do that. Or you can go into what's known as advanced edit mode, and it puts the most utilized edit functions under each one of your slides, and then just makes it really easy to edit that way. And Gides is built in such a way that it allows you to easily just go in and edit whatever you want to by hitting edit, and it'll just basically take you back to the step before you created that. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and move the the point where the geofencing starts away from here, and if I were to go back, obviously it would deny me at this point. But I can just go back and edit it just like that. I can choose another image. Let's see. Here's a good one. And then I can put it in. Now, this is a little big for my taste, right? It's like, it's kind of dominating the page a little too much. So I can simply go back and edit it, and I can change the width. And now, when it's in the guide, it's more balanced. Mm-hmm. And these kinds of the ability to format things the way that you want to edit them easily, to add in any kind of content. I can upload a video really easily into the platform. Here's a fun video of me and my kids while we were backpacking. So there you go. We have a video there.
Okay.
Or I can go to YouTube. Vivaldi. And I can easily add in a YouTube video by hitting video, link, putting in the YouTube link. Oh, that's because this is actually not a video. It's audio file. There we go. There we go. Now I've just added in a YouTube video directly into my guide. Again, if I don't want it there, I can move it to a different place. Or if I'm like, I don't want it to be quite full frame, I can make it smaller. I can get rid of it. So you can do that with any content choice you can think of. Out of the gate, we're going to have about 12. But ultimately, the platform's been built and our patent is pending, and it's pretty cool technology. The guy who, our patent attorney is the guy who got Snapchat patented. And he's not the kind of guy who you hire. He hires you because he's like, I don't need your money, and I only want really cool, interesting things that are, going to be really, really make a difference. So he took us on, and anything that you can think of, you can build and you can share. So I want to show you, here in this guide, which you can get to from the homepage. It's the very first guide you'll see. It's called a conversation about information sharing. This
Hey, Jeff, we've just got a few more minutes left. So
okay. Let me 20 more seconds on this, and then whatever you want to ask me. So, this really kind of explains things, I think, in the best way of what Gides is, why I made it, and why it's going to make a really big difference. But we have 15 different examples here of guides that different people have made. So a guide on how to make sourdough bread, a restaurant review, how to do graphic design, a rental property, a guide to somebody's rental property, a gym, gives you information about their program, how somebody lost, weight. They used to be overweight and they lost weight. A full vacation travel log, a tutorial on how to do branding, a travel journal about a trip somebody took to Costa Rica, all the best things that you want to see in Costa Rica, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these things are just really, really easy to make. My 9-year-old son turned his homework during coronavirus in April by building a guide on his phone, right? And taking pictures and then typing all of the information that the teachers needed. This is how he turned in his homework. He's 9 and he built this to turn in his homework, right? So it's a really, really fantastic way to share information, anything that you can think of. And the last thing I want to point out is Gides is built with the world in mind. So this guide right here is in Spanish, but I speak English. When I click on it to open it up, it knows that I speak English and says, hey, do you want me to translate this for you so that you can read it? So I'm like, sure, let me go ahead and view this thing in English. It does its little computing thing in the back end. And now this whole guide, which is written in Spanish, I'm reading in English. So it's truly a global platform for sharing knowledge. All right.
I tell you, you got a lot there, and I get the feeling you've just scratched the surface here. And I know we had planned to get together for about a half an hour or so here. And anyway, I'd certainly like to have you do a follow-up on this whole thing and maybe just drill down a little bit more on some of the different features that you've got built into here, if we can do that.
Yeah, right now our follow-up.
I think we have to do a follow-up. I think we're going to get cut off here in just about another minute or two.
Sounds great. I'd love
with
to.
Our Zoom meeting. Why don't you just tell everybody before we get wrapped up here, where people can go to get some more information and read up some more on Gides.
Go to gides.com, Gides, no need for the U. And from there, there's any guide will give you kind of a sense of what it is that you can build. And then at the bottom of every guide, we have a little piece of information about our WeFunder campaign. So right now, Gides has opened up, it's not donations, it's an investment crowdfunding campaign so that anybody in the world can own a piece of the company now. It would kind of be like buying shares from Facebook from Mark Zuckerberg while he was still in his dorm room. And
well, and I'll point out that I've made my investment already too.
Yeah, and you have. Thank you for that.
All right. Well, Jeff, I think we're going to have to wrap it up now, but I'd certainly like to plan to get together again here in another a week or two. I think you're going out of town, so maybe when you get back into town, we can get something else set up and do a little bit more sharing about what all this does and about the power of the whole platform.
Sounds great.
All right,
Thanks,
great.
David.
All right, Jeff, thanks for being here today. I want to thank everybody in our audience for watching too today. And we'll check back in with Jeff in the future and give you some more information on this. I think it's pretty powerful. I think it's pretty cool and can't wait to dig in myself. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Jeff Medford, and I hope you enjoyed his deep dive on Gides. I think one of the most exciting new social media platforms to be launched anywhere on the web. So stay tuned, check it out, and I'll be back with you again real soon. Thanks again, everybody. Bye-bye now.